Okay, we're here at the ECA, and I thought you might like to look at a few of the small boats that we've got down there. So, we'll start with my one, why not? We're at the back of it. This is a 17-foot Wilson Flyer. It's a dory, cathedral hull. I've got a 70 Suzuki on the back. The whole package was new in, I think it was 2015. I think it was the second to last one built by, partly built by Wilson. I did get the floor put in by someone else, and they've lowered it, so it means I've got more freeboard. I've also put the rails full length. I'm 5'11", I've never felt like I was going to ever fall over the side of this boat. Sometimes you get a rogue wave at you on the side and it pushes you over, someone else steps over. They're very stable, and I can say with my hand on my heart, in almost 30 years of owning them, I've never felt like I was going to go over the top of them.
Now you've got Neoplast floor. You had a reinforced, I'm calling it.
It's Nidoplast. There's no wood. The only wood is in the transom, so it's a Nidoplast, which is a composite material. So and it's fully under deck. I had everything sealed better than normal Wilsons. It's got a layer of Kevlar through the hull as well, which stiffens the whole thing. The floor bearers are all longitudinals. The whole thing is a stiffer Wilson than my previous one, or any other one you'll see, unless they've had the similar floor put in, that is. Certainly won't have a layer of Kevlar in it, that's for sure.
Now you have a limber hole, you put in, do you call it?
Yes, every compartment, and there is compartment because you've got the floor bearers. So I've got two longitudinals, and all the floor bearers, they each form a little compartment in there. Well, each compartment on its lowest point has got a hole drilled through, and it's all sealed. So what happens is, should you ever get hold, all the water finds its way back to the splash well, which then has another hole in it with a bung, a proper bung in it. By the way, when I undo that bung, I filled it with play pit balls, merely to take up space, not for buoyancy or anything like that. If you should get hold, there's less room for water to get in. But as soon as you undo mine, you hear the hiss if it's
sealed.
It's airtight. If it's airtight, it's watertight. Because a lot of these dories, the old dories, not just Wilsons, pilots, all sorts, water found its way under the hull, under the floor. So yeah, fly bridge is a must. I mean, they all came with a fly bridge, but the fly bridge is fantastic. We made use of sitting under it today because it cacked it down. On my one, at the top there, that's a passive radar reflector. It's a very good one. It works. A lot of them, and I'm looking around to see if I can see the tube version in particular, and I can see one over there. Yeah, I'll show you at a later date. The tube ones do not work. Don't rely on them. They've been tested in a proper chamber. They do not give a signal back. These do.
So this is for big ship, for beginners if they're starting, so a big ship can see you.
Yes, well I haven't got a powered up radar, so what I've got is a passive reflector. So a ship that has got radar, it hits my reflector, and inside is an array of metal or shape, so as if it hits it, it hits all the other bits and rebounds and gives a big signal back. And actually the signal I get from that is very big, just from that. You'll see these on top of buoys out there, and RNLI tend to have them. You can see it on a few other boats here. They've all got the same sort of ones. These ones work. Over there is a proper radar, even better if you can afford it, a powered up radar. You can get powered up reflectors, which give a better signal, but don't rely on the tube ones. They really don't work.
Wayne, I see these put down vertically a lot of the time, and sometimes have a wood chock under it. What's the idea of not leaving your engine up on tilt?
I just think sometimes it's so it's not just stressed up there and holding under its own support. Literally, just bring it down. You don't want too much force on it, because that does the opposite thing as well. Just bring it down onto a piece of wood, and it just supports it really. I mean, some do, some don't. If you look around, you'll find most do. Don't think it's overly necessary. It's a bit like when you tow. A lot of people lift it up and put a chock of wood under there, just to stop the ram, to protect the ram from all the bouncing on the roads, and you get plenty of potholes. Let's face it.
Yep. Now trailers. Tell them about trailers. Well, you got a nice trailer here. What's yours? Yours is a really, I'm going to say, over-spec one for a 17-footer. It's
oversized for certain, although I think it's the right size, and I'll explain why. Because if you look at virtually every other 16, 17, 18 foot boat in this compound, they overhang the back of the trailers by quite some way. My good friend Dick's boat here is the same. If you have a look,
so the end of the trailer's here,
and the
boat's hanging over.
I mean, the end of the trailer
and the outboards on this. There's a lot of leverage.
There's a huge, they're 16 foot trailers really, but they're all right because they're only for launching and retrieving. Should they be for towing, which I have done with my boat, I've got a proper, mine's a sort of 21, 22 foot trailer. It's aluminium.
Yeah,
it's the only aluminium one in the yard. excuse the mess around my boat. It will get cleared up very shortly, but there's a bit of stuff in my space here.
It looks like you can tow a bigger boat with that adjuster on the front, though. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, the whole boat has been built so as you can. I mean, I had it built with skis for the boat to sit on.
So you've got 2 bunks supports there, but big wide rollers you've got. I mean, way bigger than I had on my one.
Exactly. Now you say skis, I called them
skis. Yeah.
Bunks, same thing.
Yeah.
Now mine are extra long, so what you want is the weight should be on the keel there on the rollers, which it is, and I've got lots of rollers, but also got long skis, runners, because that supports the boat all the way along its length. So if it's on the road and it gets bounced about, it's less, the smaller the area, the more likely you are to punch a hole in the bottom of a boat.
Yeah. I
mean, it's not a roller coaster trailer. You don't need one for dories, I don't think. This is the ideal arrangement.
Situation, yeah. Couple of other tips, Wayne, for people, easily done, about the winch system here, winding on and off. You got, I'm calling it, I think you call it a snatch cable there.
Yeah, I mean, this is twisted at the moment. A friend of mine, didn't ask him to, but he started winding it without me asking. He wound it all up in here, and I need a new strap. Another reason why I don't like, if I want help, I'll ask for it. I'm not being rude, but you know, people tend to jump on winches, try to help you out. Sometimes they're not helping you. If you want help, ask for it. If you don't want to help, specifically say so, because
you get a routine, don't you?
Yeah, you get a routine. There can be issues with it as well. There really can. With so you're down the bottom trying to put this snatch cable on, and someone up there pulls the winch. Fingers can get removed.
Now the reason for this is going down that ramp. You have seen boats come off the back, haven't you?
Yeah, many times. What it is a snatch cable. These carabiners aren't ideal, right? They're pretty strong like that, but in a snatch they can open up. I'm going to change those to a proper strong hook like this.
Yeah.
Right. So just for now, these are on here. What it is, you've got the winch on. That's nice and tight on there, but all that holds that in gear is a spring. So once you,
we see down there. Yeah.
This is a nice stainless one, by the way, as well. There can't be many of these in the yard. Most of them are galv. But you push that back, tip that, boom, that's in free flow.
Yes.
Now, if that spring goes, that's in free flow. So unless you've got a secondary cable, what's stopping that on a slope up the winch from coming shooting straight off? The answer is nothing. Especially if you, some people let it run down too fast, break it too hard. That's a lot of tension. I mean, that wire's good. These need strengthening. These, they look strong, and they are strong to a certain extent, but on a snatch they can open up. You want strong hooks. Okay, this is my mate's Raider now. Now this arrangement, we call this a sand hopper or sand skipper, and what it means is that once you straighten the boat up on the top of the slipway, you don't run it down on the jockey wheel, which can move and twist and turn. You get it straight and then lower it onto these, and then these keep it going straight. They're nice and wide, wider than the jockey wheel, and the theory is they go down the slipway straighter, nicer, easier.
The jockey wheel comes up then totally, does it?
Yeah, with this one, yes. At the moment, obviously, it's just got to stand on these chocks here, but you manoeuvre it with the jockey wheel. Yeah. So that's up. You manoeuvre it round to the slipway, but once you're at the slipway and you've lined it up straight, you jack that up, and then the weight goes on these, and we call them sand hoppers, sand skippers. This one's been made bespoke, nice bit of stainless there, nice and straight on the centre spline. Runs down nicely. With
my boat, the old boat's old girl's gone now, Wayne. You know me, galvanised. You're going to say make everything stainless, aren't you, really, on a boat? If people are thinking of doing boating,
let me tell you now, 316 A4 stainless is the only way to go. Don't let people tell you A2 tarnishes and eventually rusts. A4, if it's proper 316 A4, it's brilliant. It's what you want. It's what boats should have. Right. Okay, well look, the great British summer. That's why I've got my sunglasses on and this umbrella up, because it started raining again. What a surprise! But anyhow, we're going to continue. So we'll look at a few other boats, but first we'll look at some of these things here. Now, for instance, you've got a bucket here, big tub. Now, personally, right, that one's all right because it's not too full of water. We'll be a bit careful, don't fill up. I wouldn't want that
sitting in water.
Sitting in water. But the idea is that these are for when these boys flush their engines up. If you've got it in one of these, it's better than muffs really, because it uses a much better water intake. Incidentally, the muffs I've got, I've adapted them so they feed in water both sides. So when I flush the engine, I get a good
circulation or volume
a good volume of water, because especially in the summer the water's quite warm So you want a lot of it, because it comes around the outside of our yard, so you want a lot of it going through the engine, otherwise you can be flushing it, it can overheat. So really these buckets are only here for just...
I've made that mistake with small outboard, leaving it there for 20 minutes and this heats up the water.
Oh yes.
It cooks it, yeah.
Exactly, you've got to be so careful, you don't want to be burning out the engine.
So if you do that, you're saying keep an eye on the rain, you don't want it, your engine, bottom of the engine, and prop just sitting in rainwater.
I personally wouldn't want it sitting in it too long. I mean, it's like covers as well. Covers, they're up to you. I've never had a cover personally.
Yeah.
My previous Wilson, which would be 24 years old, I suppose now, it's still got the same engine on. It's a Johnson, which is a Suzuki. It's sitting in Line Regis with the same engine on, no cover. Guy fires it up first time every time. Well serviced is obviously important. But covers, you know, they're up to you. Same with covers for boats, really. You can put them on if you want. Again, I don't want one because it tends to create dampness and
you don't want to
algae.
get mould or stuff underneath.
I mean, it's all right. Look, it's a personal choice. If you want one, if you feel it offers protection, have one. For me, I don't want one. I've got a cuddy, so I can shut the door. I suppose if you've got stuff in there without a cuddy, a cover covers up, you know, what people can't see, they can't cover it, can they? So yeah, finish off on the Wilson. I've got plenty of rod holders where I want them. They angle nicely. I carried my my rods along with me actually in the rod holders, and they're absolutely fine. No matter how bumpy it is, I've never had one jump out. I've got the ones in the sides there. I've got the fitted ones on the rails. All again 316 stainless, all ideal. The antenna is important. I tell you, I've got a very good Shakespeare antenna here, and it matches my radio. I can hear boats if I'm at the blocks here. I can often hear boats, which is at Portsmouth. I can hear boats at Littlehampton talking to each other.
Really?
So I know it's good, but match the antenna to the radio, or as good a one as you can afford. It's your lifeline after all. So this is a Raider 18 Fisherman. My mate Tim's boat. It's called Jumbo, as you can see. And this is actually a Polish built Raider. Now there's been a lot of talk about Polish Raiders, particularly from a guy who bought one of the first ones, which was a right lemon, wasn't built properly. This, you can take my word for it, we went 120 miles reckoning this out in the mid-channel yesterday. They're good boats. And Raiders, actually, if I didn't have a Wilson, I'd get a Raider. They're very, very capable boats in sea.
Whole design, what would you configure that as? A semi-displacement? A full planing? What would that come under?
Yeah,
Deep V?
yeah, it's a planing hull. Do you know what? You look at the hull designs. I mean, they've been going a long time, but the whole design, I want to say, was taken from another boat that's name escapes me. A tried and tested design. So they kind of look top heavy.
Yeah, they do look
Raiders.
bulky. They look bulky, don't they?
And they do catch a little bit of war wind on the drift, but they're very, very good, very capable boats. And don't be frightened of the well-built Polish ones. This is a fantastic boat. It's got a very good engine on the back. I feel you personally want at least a 115.
Oh, big engine then?
Yeah, on the back of one of these. I say I got a 70 on mine, which is fine for my boat. This is a heavier boat. I feel you can get away with a much smaller engine, and they'll be all right. I feel personally about 115 is good on these. Pushes them along very, very nicely. This is on what most boats are on, is a galvanised trailer. They're good as gold. You look after them, obviously flush them out, wash them down. It's got the roller coaster. So these are very easy to get the boat on and off generally. You line them up, they roll straight off, they roll straight on. As long as you've got good rollers, don't damage the paintwork. Their roller coaster trailers make it so much easier to launch and retrieve, especially with a heavy boat like this, much heavier than mine. You'd struggle to push that off if it was stuck on bunks.
Do you have to have grease or anything, those rollers, or
Well,
just keep them rolling?
No, you should, but they tend to be all right. I mean, it's maintenance, isn't it? It's such a hard life for anything out in salt environment. You soon find out if you haven't looked after them. You soon find out that you get problems, which you do with bearings. If you've got bearing savers, they're fantastic. They just keep pushing grease under pressure into your hubs. They're very good. They just stop that water getting in there and just rotting your bearings out. But that's worth checking every now and again, especially if you tow on the road. I mean, that's vital. You just jack it up, spin it, listen to those bearings. If they're grumbling and rumbling, have a look at them. But bearing savers, they're really, really good. So yeah, you have a little walk around. I've shown you me Wilson, and I've shown you a Raider. If we look over there, where we're going to look, plenty of them around. There's Warriors over here, very popular boat. The one on the end there, this one here. They do various versions of those. The 165, they do a 175, which is a double skin, very heavy boat. I personally don't like them at all. The 165s are okay. The 175 Exports, on the other hand, very nice boats. They seem to have got that right as far as I'm concerned. We've got a couple up here, but as we're walking along behind the camera, if we can turn it round, an Orkney Fastliner 19 there. Again, capable boats.
With your one, you call that a good introduction boat, wouldn't you? Would that be comparable for people wanting to get into boating?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with
Orkney,
Orkneys. Absolutely nothing wrong with semi-displacement, so you don't want as big an engine, won't go quite as fast as these fully planing hulls. But yeah, I mean, the vital thing is get out on them. Get out on the boat, go out, have a look what they feel like on the water, what they run like. Don't let people tell you. Everyone's got their own opinions on boats. Most people's are fully behind what boat they have, oddly enough. So you might not get an honest opinion. The honest opinion is your own when you're out on the boat, on the sea, see what it's like on the water, see what it's like at anchor. That's vital. Most of your fishing, or most of my fishing, is done at anchor. So you spend a lot of time on that boat, which is why I like my dory, because it's very stable. Some of the V-hulls can very much rock and roll. It might not be your cup of tea. I've seen people who've owned them get seasick on them. So, you know, get out on the boats. They've all got pros and cons. The V-hulls cut through the water better, don't slap as much. One thing, if anyone tells you these boats, I've heard someone say to me once, yeah, the Raiders, they don't slam. They all slam. Every boat in certain conditions slams, and you can take my word for it, these slam just like other boats. It's just they don't slam as much sometimes in certain seas. The key is throttle back for the conditions and drive the boat to the conditions.